Hello and welcome back to Look Movie Recaps. Today, we are going to recap a 2020 movie titled Tainted. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, some people are lying lifeless, citing the aftermath of a ruthless fight. The following scene introduces us to Lance, who had eliminated the people in the opening scene. He used to be a tough guy in a difficult neighborhood, participating in gangs and causing harm to others as a hitman. One day, a friend betrayed him, and the cops apprehended him. As a result, he served a 15-year prison sentence. After his release from jail, Lance avoided social interaction. In order to survive, Lance took up small jobs like welding. Even though he was free, he was always concerned that something awful would happen, so he carried a gun with him at all times. To feel less lonely, he played music in his room. In another part of town, we encounter a man named Gregory. He is a notorious figure, serving as both a gang leader and a drug dealer. To conceal his unlawful operations, Gregor married a young woman named Adeline and founded a bakery together. After serving clients at the bakery, Gregor asked his wife if he could leave for a while. Adeline never realized what her husband was up to. Despite their age difference, she genuinely loved him. Gregor was actually meeting an elderly man to purchase narcotics. The elderly man gave Gregor a variety of drugs, which they concealed beneath their car to evade detection. Gregor and his crew then left the location. The following day, Gregor received a call from one of his mobster buddies, Vladimir. He wanted to meet him immediately, and Gregor, terrified of Vladimir, couldn't say no. Gregor later met with Vladimir, who was already waiting for him. Vladimir was enraged at the Aryan Brotherhood, another gang crew, for breaching their business agreement. He instructed Gregor to resolve the situation by eliminating the entire gang. Gregor didn't want to cause trouble with the Aryans, as he had no issues with them. However, Vladimir assured him that if the Aryans managed to capture him, they would also capture Gregor. Vladimir, he also showed him images of Lance, who had recently been freed from prison. Lance had a history with Vladimir that landed him in jail. If Lance fulfilled their intentions, Vladimir swore not to trouble him again. On the other hand, Lance struggled to find peace because of his turbulent past and the tattoos he carried as constant reminders. He decided to have one of the tattoos removed and sought aid from a tattoo artist. However, when the artist saw the emblem on Lance's chest, she refused. Lance, feeling upset, went to a nearby tavern to relax. There, he spotted Anna, who was his neighbor, singing. Anna caught sight of him and approached to greet him, but Lance's preference for solitude infuriated her. She wondered if Lance was always this grumpy or if it was just with her. Lance later returned to his apartment, where Gregor and his gang were waiting for him. Gregor told Lance what he wanted. He wanted Lance to eliminate the Aryan Brotherhood in return for a new passport and financial resources, which would allow Lance to start a new life somewhere else. At first, Lance declined Gregor's request, preferring to leave the life behind. But Gregor gave him some time to think about it. As Gregor and his gang were leaving, they noticed Anna, who had just arrived home from work. This piqued their interest in the relationship between Lance and Anna. After they left, Lance decided to speak with Anna. He was intrigued by her voice and suggested she locate a place that valued her talent more. Anna said her only goal was to work at the bar. Then they each returned to their rooms. Gregor's offer had left Lance perplexed and unable to think clearly. After a while, Lance called Gregor and declined the offer, stating that he did not want to be involved in any more murders. However, Gregor refused to accept the judgment, claiming that once a murderer always a murderer, and that Lance must eliminate the Aryan gang. What Gregor didn't realize was that his wife had overheard their talk. The following day, Lance headed to the Aryan headquarters. He showed them a tattoo of their Brotherhood sign and was led to meet their commander, Thomas. Soon after, Thomas began asking Lance questions, but before Lance had a chance to respond, Thomas started to become skeptical. Lance suddenly attacked and killed Thomas. He then engaged with the rest of the gang. And despite them putting up a resistance, Lance managed to triumph. Unbeknownst to Lance, a young girl witnessed all his killings. He then returned to his car and contacted Gregor, asking where he had kept the promised passport and money. Gregor had hidden these items in the ventilation system of Lance's apartment. Lance returned to check the ventilation and found the passport and money. With it, he intended to relocate to another country and begin a new life. Lance did something in the middle of the night that made him feel confused. He drank a lot of alcohol and then heated up an iron, hoping to remove his tattoos, but he soon passed out. When he awoke, he decided to pack his belongings. As Lance was about to depart, he realized Anna had passed out on the steps. He felt terrible for her and escorted her to her room. Lance sympathized with Anna after seeing her struggling alone in the city, and he began to think of her as a daughter. He questioned her about what she was doing in the city, thinking she deserved better. On the other hand, Anna requested that Lance not treat her like a father would treat his child, as her own father's actions had caused her to experience nightmares. Before leaving for good, Lance left a box of vinyl albums at Anna's apartment. Anna awoke shortly after, discovered the box, and began playing the music in her room. She thoroughly enjoyed the music and wanted to express her gratitude to Lance, but he had already left. So, she wrote a note on the wall and asked Lance to meet her at the pub that night. Meanwhile, Gregor and his gang were having an important discussion concerning the business. Soon after, Vladimir appeared. When Gregor realized the gravity of the situation, he quickly evacuated his team. Vladimir had come to inform Gregor that a 10-year-old child had witnessed what Lance had done. The police were currently monitoring the child, and Lance could potentially face another detention. To remove any evidence and ties to the murder, Vladimir instructed Gregor to take care of Lance quietly, leaving no trace. This request put Gregor in a difficult situation, but he had no choice but to comply. Eventually, he directed his crew to eliminate Lance immediately. He also urged them not to do anything that would make Anna suspicious. Soon after, Gregor's soldiers headed out to confront Lance. They felt conflicted because they were forced to betray someone who had worked for their boss. When they arrived at Lance's apartment, they discovered a letter on the wall. They also scoured the area but could not locate Lance, so they divided into two groups. One squad would wait for Lance at his apartment while the other would go to the bar to find him and Anna. Soon after, Lance returned to his apartment, and the goons ambushed him. The assailants nearly killed Lance, leaving him unable to defend himself. But when he saw Anna's note, he realized she was in danger, so he mustered the resolve to fight back and reverse the situation, defeating Gregor's two men. Meanwhile, Gregor's other henchmen grew suspicious due to the lack of updates from their colleagues. Eventually, two of them separated. One went to the pub to monitor Anna, while the other returned to Lance's apartment to conduct an investigation. When he arrived, he discovered his two comrades had died and immediately reported this to Gregor. Gregor became concerned and resolved to go there himself. He promised his wife he'd be back shortly. However, their talk revealed that Gregor had little hope of coming home, and his wife was beginning to question his actions. Lance soon arrived at the pub. When Anna saw Lance, she started singing her favorite song. He recognized Gregor's henchman named Joseph. Lance, realizing that Joseph was his target, offered him the chance to leave right away. However, Joseph chose to stay. Lance eventually lured Joseph away from the audience and attacked him. Meanwhile, Anna developed suspicions about the two men and decided to halt her performance. She resolved to investigate what was going on between them. Anna was shocked to see Lance violently defeat Joseph and implored Lance to keep away from her. Lance attempted to explain why Joseph was a threat to Anna. He instructed Anna to seek immediate shelter and contact the police. A sudden hit from behind abruptly interrupted Anna's attempt to contact the police. Once Anna was apprehended, the goon Peter immediately alerted Gregor. He informed Gregor that Anna knew everything about their activities. Gregor instructed Peter to eliminate Anna because he felt the situation was out of control and feared she would become a problem. This was not only done to remove any evidence but also because Lance, if he found out that Anna was still alive and in their possession, would not hesitate to attack them to protect her. Peter felt bewildered and had no choice but to obey his boss's directions. Before he could hurt Anna, he called Lance and told him what he was going to do. When Lance heard a gunshot, he was taken aback and had no idea what to do. Gregor arrived elsewhere to pick up Peter and console him following the incident. Lance soon called Gregor and scheduled a rendezvous behind the lumber factory. Gregor and his crew made quick progress to the lumber factory. Once Gregor's guys got out of their car, Lance started acting suspiciously. Gregor believed his soldiers had beaten Lance. He emerged from his hiding location to examine Lance's body but was surprised to discover that the bodies were actually his own men. Then Gregor was attacked. Vladimir was apprehensive since he hadn't heard from Gregor. To remove any evidence of Gregor's disappearance, he found Adelina and shot her. Meanwhile, Anna, believed to be dead, turned out to be alive. She untied herself and returned to her apartment. There, she discovered Lance's music player, which he had left for her. She shattered it in anger but discovered tens of thousands of dollars and notes in the box in addition to the tapes. Lance appeared to be offering Anna a chance at a better life. A fierce fight left Gregor and Lance nearly dead. Gregor was able to talk despite the difficult circumstances, which infuriated Lance. Lance then shot Gregor, silencing him. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.